It's Monday, August the 25th or the 25th, depends on how you look at it. Welcome to your perfect day starter, the morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. As always, it's going to be an eventful week. We'll bring you up to speed with the big happenings, majoring on the highlights to ensure that you have the best of it. Our president, I guess, is in Brazil or headed to Brazil. From
Yokohama, Japan.
Yeah. With all the controversy that ensued. So we're going to be following up on that and bring you up to speed. This time we're going to track him. There's no way he's going to be out of circulation without us knowing where he went to after what played out.
He's our president. We love him like that. But back home, Jeffrey, there's been a lot of, political events. And I think naturally we'll begin with the one that played out in Kogi State, where you had members of the assembly basically just kneeling and just having a servant's leadership kind of relationship with former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello. So we're going to show you this video that has been making the rounds for the past few days now. And I got a lot of people talking. So let's just maybe upsound it a little bit for you. Then we'll speak on this more.
You are going in there now. Go and cooperate with the Speaker, other members of the House of Assembly of Kogi State, and be part of those that will support Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo. Are you getting my point? In everything that comes to the Assembly, everything. Even if you don't understand.
So, father-children relationship, leader-servant relationship in terms of, or leader-follower relationship in terms of politics. But I just want to say this, for a lot of people who have said different things, like, come on, these are elected members of the Kogi State Assembly. They should not be seen in this kind of situation and all of that. First, we need to understand how this democracy we practice works, such that we can approach it better and be able to fix things that we see wrong. Because if we keep prescribing the wrong solutions, then we'll never get there. First of all, if you're not from Kogi State, this matter doesn't concern you primarily. And I'm getting somewhere this morning. It doesn't concern you. First, you cannot vote to make a change in any of the elections. That's election malpractice. You will go to jail for it. Secondly, you cannot go to court on this matter. Be a meddlesome interloper because it doesn't concern you primarily. So how do we fix this? First of all, it is assumed that the people from the 21 local government areas in Kogi State are the ones before the former Kogi State governor, or at least they approve that their representatives go to him and take orders from him in some sense. And I don't think that is the reality. But by keeping quiet, for a lot of them, they do not vote in elections. A lot of them are sort of aloof in that sense. So this is what you get. So if you really want to make a change, because that's how democracy is structured, you have to approach it from elections or recall, or you go to court, maybe if you think something wrong has been done. So for the larger Nigerian population that is outraged by this, it doesn't primarily concern us. It is actually the people of Kogi State from those local governments that are primarily concerned. And if they like this as it is, all well and good. Or do they? Jeff?
For me, it concerns all of us because this image has gone across the country. It represents the entirety or some microcosm of what our society is. The people like Yahaya Bello and his likes, with the greatest sense of respect, are even able to do this because we live in a society like Nigeria. And as you've clearly said, the way these things work, this is why we constantly say that the state assemblies, they are appendages of the governor. So perhaps there were not enough seats. I don't want to say he was telling them to sit down, kneel down. That is not my big kettle of fish, because I can clearly see that seats were not available for some, so some had to sit on the floor to listen to their leader. If you know, I'm sure he did a lot to make sure most of them or all of them became lawmakers in the House of Assembly. What you're watching right now is why Nigeria is not moving forward. That is as classic as it can get. So because you played a role in their political career, and then you tell them that whatever is brought to them from the governor, they should approve, perhaps even if they don't understand it. And these are lawmakers, some of them perhaps well-educated, and everybody like sheepishly, you know, obeying and looking like, okay, we're going to do what you say. This is a shame. This is an embarrassment. I don't know how this got to the media because they were filming. I'm sure he saw that cameras were rolling and he said what he said because he knows nothing will happen in Nigeria. But this is the reason why we say we have a long way to go. For me, the federal government were able to look at their books, check their movement. If the subnationals are able to put their acts together, Nigeria is going to do better beyond what the federal government is doing. If you want to see corruption, go to the subnational. If you want to see impunity, go to the subnational, I mean states. If you want to see abuse of power, go to the... Now, what do you describe what Yaya Bello, who has a case with the EFCC, is doing?
Jeffrey.
Controlling, literally telling them, look, work with the governor, don't ask too many questions, do as he said, no matter what it is, just get it done. This is embarrassing, this is a shame, this is just... Oof. Anyway.
And that's why
I reserve my comments.
That may just be what the people of the 21 local government areas in Kogi State want. Because if that is not what they want, these representatives will not do that. And I'm talking about the people of Adavia, Jokuta, Ankwa, Bassa, Tekina, Yagba East, Yagba West, Omala, Olama Borough. I mean, do you get what I'm saying, Jeffrey? Because there's a tendency to just focus on the
action of Yaya Bello.
Exactly. Forgetting that these people represent millions of Kogi citizens. So if the citizens say, I didn't send you to the State Assembly to do that, you know what, come back home. Let's send another person. The next time he sends a message to the next person that I am representing people. I'm not representing myself. I'm not going there for someone. So I'm just trying to reawaken the people. Because a lot of them are, I mean, you know Kogi State people doing great stuff. Brilliant
sophisticated people.
Exactly. So that's my point, really.
I don't know what is really going on. But I totally agree with you on that particular premise. Because on this one, this is why whether the votes really count or the votes are, we can tell you for free that INEC sometimes is doing their best, but politicians have looked. Let me tell you the new way politicians rig elections so that all of us are clear. So before now, it used to be ballot box snatching, all of the shenanigans we know now, they've gone beyond that level. With BVAS, it is clear. So if you go to a polling unit, for instance, you cast your vote, everybody has done the accreditation and has voted. The BVAS captures the number of persons that were accredited to vote. So if at the result declaration, say 500 people were accredited to vote and the result shows 501, that entire election is cancelled. So these are the things that politicians now do. One, they look for a way to say, okay, it's not beyond 500. How can we rig around 500 votes? So they do a lot of shenanigans around rigging around 500 votes. Not beyond that, because anything. Now, if they want to ruin their opponent, they make sure it's more than 500 so that the election is cancelled, or they use thugs and all of that and suppress. So, kind of, I'm saying that INEC is doing their bit to make sure malpractices are checked, but politicians have generated smarter ways. That is why people like this who find themselves to government house. That is why what you're seeing is happening. They'll go to government house, become leaders of a state and all of that, and eventually come out on camera. The man knew, perhaps he knew it was being filmed,
of course,
and told the people what he told with his full chest, knowing that Kogi people and everybody will say nothing. Well, we're calling you out, Yaya Bello. What you did is a shame. For those of you who are nodding your head, it's a shame. It's an embarrassment to your people. You could do that behind closed doors. It's fine. The politicians can do what they do. But for this to get to the media, you have misrepresented Nigeria. And that's what we're saying. Sometimes you think you're doing it to Kogi State or River State or Lagos State. You are representing Nigeria. That video has gone to Brazil. It has gone to the United States. It's gone to China. And they say, oh, look at Nigeria. That's how their politics is played. It's a poor representation of us. And that is not what we are. We refuse to accept it.
There you go. So the ball is in your court now, Kogi people. But speaking of politics, Jeffrey, there was a major event. There's actually a major event, the NBA conference holding in Nigeria. We had the head of the opposition in South Africa speaking. Julius Malema said a lot of things, I mean, he was in Lagos at first, and then I went on to the conference. So let's just give you a snippet of what he said, particularly about Africa having one president, one military, one parliament, so that we can compete globally and, of course, develop as a continent. So take a listen to a bite of this.
Today, to reclaim our land. We want the land of Africa to be returned to Africa because it belongs to the Africans. We want the minerals of Africa to be returned to the Africans because that's where they belong. We want to build industries in Africa and process our minerals here in Africa. We've got the capacity. We must never allow the imperialist forces to divide us in order to take our minerals from us. We demand one Africa. We demand borderless Africa. We demand Africa with one president, with one currency, with one military command, with one parliament, because we know the currency of Africa will be much more stronger against the American currency. We don't care what Trump thinks of us. He will never choose a policy position for Africans.
So you could hear the applause. That was a rousing speech. But usually after the speech comes the action plan. What do we do next? So I think first we need to recognize what the problem is. Again, we shouldn't use the wrong solutions for the problem we have at hand. And a lot of times that comes because we've not really diagnosed the problem. So yes, we know that it takes a lot to travel within Africa. So that's problem number one. The economy of Africa can do better because, I mean, we have lots of resources, so naturally it should translate to a better economy, not the very tiny percentage of global economy that we run right now. So that's the second one. There's security challenges as well and all of that. So is having one president, one parliament, one command and control center and all of that, is that the solution to all of this? Well, the debate or the jury is out there, but I think that we should not create a bigger problem while trying to solve the one that we have on hand, because it looks like we might also have another big individual, or what's that called, powerful individual, at the expense of powerful institutions, which is what we've been clamoring for as a continent. I mean, look at what played out in Kogi State. It's because we have powerful individuals and not powerful institutions. So all the African leaders, first of all, sit together in a room. Yes, you can go to TCADs of this world and the rest, but let us come together as a continent and shut the doors. The leaders, look yourselves in the face and say, why is it expensive for me to travel to your country? I mean, we have a Nigerian traveling across Africa, Ileriluwa. You should hear about his woes. Come on, traveling to African countries, and African. First of all, they detain him and say that he's a spy. I mean, and then he has to apply time and again and pay a lot of money. And so I think we should sit down. It's good to attend TCAD, but let's attend our own conference, sit down and speak to these issues and decide what we want to do. Then we can begin to talk about these issues. But primarily, I don't think that is our solution for now. Jeffrey.
Everybody, I totally agree. But Julius Malema, very fiery, former youth leader of the ANC, now the president of the EFF, yeah. Economic fighter something. Now, the EFF has been at the vanguard of, the economy, believing that the minority black, the minority whites have been dominating the economy in South Africa. And he's saying that if you look at across the continent, at the end of the day, you realize that as economic freedom fighters, that's the name I was trying to remember. You remember that he's just trying to say, look, reawakening Africa, that there's a lot that can be done. Unity. He said, nobody's going to come and save us. And that is totally true. And as you said, Kayode, he even said, let's get after rights beyond the paper. You remember when we signed after, Nigeria was one of the last to come on board because we wanted to get our acts together under Muhammadu Buhari. Now, how well are we doing with after? After as basic as it is. Let's not even talk about the whole one president thing. That's maybe going too far. Let's even talk about a common currency. That's another issue. How hard can it be? Euro has theirs and all of that. Let's even talk about this. That one is just a shame that I will need a visa to go to another region of Africa. I will need a visa to go to Kenya. I will need a visa to go to South Africa. Why should I need a visa? I was just appalled when I heard Aliko Dango say, that is not just the richest man in Africa or the richest man in Nigeria. That is the richest black man in the world, if my records are correct. But he says, He struggles to travel within the African country. People like Dangote are supposed to be people that hear that they are coming, just open your border, let him just walk in. But he has problems. Then the CEO of an oil multinational company doesn't have that same problem, and he's not an African. So some of you have Schengen visa. How do you struggle? You don't struggle when you have a Schengen visa. You just move around the country. Just make sure you present your paper. How hard can it be? And as long as those borders are closed, trade is going to be expensive. Transportation and logistics is going to be expensive. So the question is Africa really rising if simple things like cross-national movements are a bit inhibited? So I agree with him. Some may be far-fetched, but there are, low-hanging fruits, things like visa restriction, things like a common currency. Let's start from there first, and then we can begin to build. Else, it's just talk shop, and every day, they know what I hate the most. Wake up, they say we're having US-Africa Summit, and 54 heads of state will pack themselves into different aircraft, land. Another country will say China-Africa Summit, we go there. Japan-Africa Summit, we go there. Russia-Africa Summit, we go there. Like a charity case, always looking for one aid or one support or one partnership or the other. Just doesn't make sense. Let's just wake up. I don't know what we discuss at AU. If they invite people like me to the AU, I'm just going to ask one question. Please, what have we been doing since?
Which is a very valid question.
Yes, I'm not going to say anything. What have we been doing since? We come here every year in Addis Ababa to have a conversation. What exactly have we been doing since? So it has to be done. We have a potential to be great. We have the natural resources. I was listening to Professor Kingsley Mohalo. In his data, he was speaking to the fact that Africa has about 60 or 70% of the world's most strategic raw materials or mineral resources. But Africa accounts for less than 5% of global manufacturing. An aberration. Let's wake up, guys.
Oh, yes, and this is a breakfast show where we help you wake up the right way. But let's walk you through what more we have on the program today. 6 months ago, we had the head of the Rural Electrification Agency on this program. He made some promises, and guess what? We're following, and we'll be having him on the show today to see how far he has gone with the promises he has made, particularly with electricity supply to rural, underserved areas. This is what governance is about. When you make the promises, we follow you to be sure that you have either fulfilled the promise or otherwise. And if you've not, what more do we need to do? So that's where we're starting off from this morning on the program.
Yes, it's a day of reckoning for him to come and give account of his stewardship. He did the promise. He is now to fulfill those promises. So we have a book open for him. Let me sound like the books of scripture.
Oh, yes.
And the book shall be opened unto him, and he shall respond to all of the questions being put to him. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. If electricity fails in Nigeria, let me be clear, after security, electricity should be the next. If it fails, we're wasting our time. We hope it gets better. We also move from there to Benue State. The drama of Benue State politics has not ended since the day, very first day, there was an upset in the Benue State politics where the PDP was literally bundled out of Benue State and replaced with the APC. But the APC since then has not been able to put their house in order. On one hand, they are battling insecurity, but now politics has played out. It was 4 members suspended. Now the speaker said, I'm not doing it again for peace to reign. We'll find out what is going on in Kogi. Sorry, Benue. Why is Kogi in my mouth today? Benue State House of Assembly.
There you have it. And we switch gears to the customs matter. Yes, we had the chairman, House of Reps Committee on Customs on the program speaking about the proposed hike in registration, license renewal fees, and all of that from next year. And he says, well, most of the agents and all are in on this, or they've agreed to this, but we'll be hearing from them on the program to see how they'll be taking this in and how this will impact the economy and the prices, which is very important, I must say.
Very critical, and we'll be talking to, the people from MTN. Next Afrobeat star is about to kick off as far as this is concerned. This telco company, yet again, they've done it before. Like there's a new awakening to produce another set of frontliners and headliners as far as our music in Africa is concerned. We'll be speaking with the organizers on the program later on today. It's called the Next Afrobeat Stars, a star by MTN.
So there you have it. But what are the dailies saying today, Monday, August the 25th? Well, we'll take a moment now. When we return, Mr. Dayo Akintobi joins us as we walk through the big stories. Stay with us. Alrighty, Mr. Dayo Akintobi is with us in our Lagos studio. Mr. Akintobi, good morning and welcome to the program.
Very good morning to you. Good morning, Nigeria.
I don't think you need any introduction for the benefit of those who are wondering. As a media and public affairs analyst, Mr. Akintobi, let's start off with the Guardian newspaper because that's a conversation we were a bit big on. And the Guardian leads with the statement made by the EFF leader Julius Malema in Nigeria at the NBA conference, saying Africa's future dependent on political economy in Nigeria and South Africa, and said quite a number of things, which we have touched on. President, single parliament, currency, military, and all of that. How far does that go to solving the challenges we have at hand as a continent for you?
The move nowadays generally is more towards decentralization as opposed to centralization. And you see that there's a trend towards devolving power to subnationals. What he is actually recommending is going in the opposite direction, centralizing on a larger scale. And while that has some political advantages, why it'll be a challenge for us as a continent and as a people is the fact that unlike the United States of America, for example, a United States of Africa will be harder to achieve because we're not homogeneous. We're different people, different cultures, different languages, unlike the United States where they all originated from the same Anglo-Saxon background and they had everything about them was the same. And they just relegated the native Indians to one corner, and it was easy for all of them. They started out with 13 states. It was easy for them to unify under one umbrella because they had common aspirations, common goals. They were all the same people. Here in Nigeria alone, as opposed to even looking at the continent, in our country alone, we are so fractionated because we're different people, all united under a geographic expression. So our differences make it difficult, even as a country. Now imagine that on a much larger scale as a continent where Nigerian goals and aspirations are different from what is important to the people in South Africa, different from the people in Kenya, Ethiopia. We have different national goals. We have different national aspirations. So I think what augurs better for Africa is economic cooperation. And I think that was the notion behind ECOWAS when it started, as opposed to complete unification and breaking down of borders and making us all one people. I think what will work better is economic cooperation. Look at the example you gave about how difficult it is. I happen to know a group of bikers who rode from Lagos and went to Ghana in the last couple of weeks, and they were detained at the border, I think, between Togo and, between Republic of Benin and Togo for 10 hours simply behind documents to pass, and yet they had Nigerian passports that in West Africa is supposed to give you free passage as long as you have the Nigerian passport or passport from one.
It's right there on the passport.
The front of the passport says 10 hours. They had to put their bikes aside, sleep on the side of the road. They were not allowed to pass until phone calls were made to various places. 10 hours within West Africa. So we need more of the type of cooperation that ECOWAS originally was intended, whereby you have free movement of goods, free movement of people, the ability to go and work anywhere, no visa requirements, no residency requirements to be able to move between countries. That kind of economic cooperation, I think, would work better than one government, one president, one army. We can have collaborations. And last time I was here, I remember I complained that why are we going to Japan to go and talk about African issues? Why didn't we go to Kigali or Johannesburg or one of these places? Because I believe in homegrown solutions. I think we've passed the stage where we need to start depending on foreign powers, colonial masters, to still be trying to come up with solutions to our issues, to be giving us grants and loans and aid because they have their own self-enlightened interests. They don't give us all this assistance without having a motive behind it. So Malema was right to some extent, but I don't think we need to go as far as he's recommending, because I think that would be a much harder road to hoe in terms of us being able to fit well together. I think it's the kind of thing that can create a lump in the throat and end up choking you, but that doesn't mean we don't have areas of common interest when we can collaborate.
Malema is a radical revolutionary, so you can expect his views are very strong.
Well, he's trying to moderate himself lately. I didn't see him yesterday in the suit as opposed to the beret.
He's not in the parliament.
And the freedom fighter.
And when I saw him yesterday, I was just thinking to myself, somehow I'm almost thinking like we should have a parliamentary system. So if you watch the South African parliament, you see people like Malema giving the parliament hits a run for their money. If that was Nigeria, perhaps the AAC, led by Shore, should have been the one of pushing those kind of situations where the president will not have a good day every 1 month or every other 3 weeks. But let's go to a New Telegraph newspaper. This is talking politics. Local 1, 2027. Zoning tops agenda as PDP holds crunch neck meeting. Zoning tops agenda as PDP holds crunch neck meeting. Next, NWC must be representative, proactive, according to Ilya Damagun. Party will give APC a run for its money. Abba Moro, that's a minority leader in the Senate. Vote buying, red flag ahead of 2027. So, Mr. Akintobi, so we're just watching what the PDP will do with itself, because you know their drama has been back and forth. And I think this current NWC or the PDP is one of the most disorganized I have seen.
Yes.
One of the most disorganized NWC I have seen. One moment they are together, another moment they are firing from different cylinders. They are just back. And so for those of us who are political watchers, we can't wait for them to be eased out so that maybe a new crop of But what do you make of all the things they are saying?
Well, PDP is trying to put its house in order with a view towards 2027, and you can't blame them because they're looking and they're seeing this thing called the ADC that's rapidly picking up momentum and is threatening to displace the PDP as the bona fide opposition in the country and the one that can actually give the APC a run for its money. So they're trying to put their house in order, but there's power centers that have a centrifugal force that's pulling the party apart. On the one hand, you have Governor Wike, of course, who has always been a juggernaut in the party and who has been very strong-willed and tries to muscle what he wants into reckoning. You also have on the other side Bala Mohammed and of Bauchi State and Sheyi Makinde, who also are positioning so that they are also powers to be reckoned with within the party. I understand Governor Makinde has some presidential ambition. I think Governor Wike also has presidential ambition. So maybe this is all about a tussle about who's loyalists, because at the end of the day, the current crisis is based on party positions. It's not even about nominees for elections yet. This is about who gets the party chairmanship, deputy chairmanship. They've zoned them in different...
This is a building block for the bigger one.
Absolutely, it is. And if at this point there's still so much dissension and lack of unity in how to share the party positions, you can imagine when it comes to the bigger issues of party nominees for election. So I think at the end of the day, the PDP will get its act together because I think they've been around long enough. They know what is at stake. There's been a call by people like Bode George, the founding fathers of the party, and that Governor Wike should be called to order, which seems to have been something they've shied away from for a very long time. But there are more strident voices now saying that sanctions need to be given out to those who've been disrupting the party internally, and Wike is the primary one they're talking about. So maybe they will have the guts to do that, and the first step in that direction will be the outcome of the next meeting today in terms of whose favored candidates get what positions. They're talking about rotating where the chairmanship, should, because ultimately, usually the chairmanship is from a different zone from where the presidential candidate is. Now they're talking about rotating it so that the favored candidate of some bloc is who becomes the national chairman and all that. So it's all about horse trading at the moment, but let's see if the PDP can get its act together and come out of this stronger and more capable to compete towards 2027.
Because over the night they had the caucus meeting, which is meant to shape the deliberations at the 102nd National Executive Committee meeting scheduled to hold today, Monday. And you had all those governors,
yes,
members of the BOT and the acting chairman, of course, there. So it's going to be very interesting to see the outcome today. But let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper as, we switch gears from the political situation. Sorry, Vanguard newspaper. Let's move from politics to economy. You see the Vanguard newspaper leading with economy, industrialization in jeopardy as agric manufacturing sink. Services sector takes driving seat. Manufacturing loses 1.2 trillion naira in 5 years. That's according to a report. FDI plummets amid waning investors' confidence. Rebasing exposes sector's structural weakness. That's come from Manufacturing Association in Nigeria. Nigeria struggling with deindustrialization, says NESG. Manufacturing should contribute 40% to GDP. That's from EPO. So this is big for the Vanguard. And it's very important because I was just looking around and I see that, where we consume a lot. In fact, it's so sad that majority of people don't even think about the process of manufacturing. All you want to do is consume. You don't even look at a simple table and think, oh, how is it made? Because curiosity is at the heart of manufacturing. Oh, let's make this better. Oh, this table is not serving us, it's too low. Can we make something even higher or something that is comfortable? But no, people don't even want to spend time. It's either you want to consume or you just want to go on social media and do content creation. It's not an accident that we're where we are, since even the mindset is not geared towards production as a people compared to China, India, and the rest.
Well, we once were like that. We once had the mindset of making things. We had the first television station even before some countries in Europe. We built things. We had rubber plantations. We had cocoa. We made things. We manufactured things. We had vibrant textile mills across the entire country. We had Ajaokuta steel mill. We had things. We had Basita sugar factory. We were making things back in the day. But over time, it became apparent, first of all, I think due to, of course, government deficiencies and dysfunction, it became easier. It's a lazy way of doing things to just import things and consume. It's the lazy way to do it because it doesn't take that much stress. And we had more money than we know what to do with. If you remember in the General Gowon days where we have more money than we can spend.
Now we need the money.
So if you've got the money and you can throw it about and get all you want and by simple acquisition, why go through the heavy lifting of going to manufacture it from scratch? But this Vanguard report actually is interesting because it makes me think we're living in a parallel universe, because just last week the federal government released such rosy picture of the economy. Foreign reserves are up, GDP is up, inflation is down, consumer spending is, and I now look at this report that says that the economy is in jeopardy. Even though the service sector is doing well, the difference between service and manufacturing boils down to employment. Services sector, good, is thriving, but how many people do they employ? An entire organization that's generating billions of naira per annum can operate with 2 people. Simple, because everything, the services you provide, don't need manpower. But if you're manufacturing a pencil, that factory can employ a good 500 people to manufacture a pencil. Now, employment is the driver of any economy. Employment. And what essentially happens is when manufacturing is down, unemployment increases. which means more people have less to spend. And when people have less to spend, the economy slows down. Every economy is driven by spending, consumer spending. And if consumers don't have jobs, then they don't have money to spend. So that mindset, as Kayode alluded to, has become ingrained in us over the years, from when we had the money to just consume. But now we can't afford, we don't have the luxury to be primary consumers anymore. And also the idea that you continue to import everything because you're not making anything has a deleterious effect on the economy down the road, apart from the unemployment aspect. The point is, if we're dependent on importing everything that's a finished product, from petroleum to this table, everything that's a finished product, if we're reliant on importing it, that has an effect, remember, on our foreign exchange, on the value of our naira, on the balance of trade. There are so many downsides to this notion of the fact that we don't make anything that we consume and we bring it all in. So how do we cure the mindset that we should begin to make it here? First problem is power, electricity.
We have the power man already standing by.
Okay, you have the power man. Well, when he comes on, hold his feet to the fire and tell him that he's responsible for the deindustrialization of Nigeria. Until we get the power thing right, we can't begin to talk about manufacturing. That's the truth.
Absolutely. So do we have more time for some more?
I mean, we could do all day, Mr. Kitobi. But at this point, we have to anchor. But just to mention the Abuja Inquirer leading with something on, Abuja and human traffickers finding Abuja safe haven.
Abuja is now the safe haven for the lead with human traffickers find Abuja as safe haven. NAPTIP rescues over 100 victims in 8 months. Oh. So that's how. This is the nation's capital. This is not good.
Definitely.
Not good at all.
Mr. Akintobi, we have to thank you so much for your time, as always. Mr. Dayo Akintobi is a media and public affairs analyst. Always looking dapper, I must mention.
As always.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. Look at the front pages this morning, but we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll revisit a conversation we had 6 months ago with the head of the Rural Electrification Agency. He promised to come back in 6 months to give a scorecard of his activities. He's here with us in a moment, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. We're being joined on the program by the Managing Director, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, Mr. Abba Aliyu. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Aliyu, good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm kind of excited with this conversation because the last one we had was super productive. We had you, firing from all cylinders, telling us what you would do, what you would do in 6 months, what you would do in 1 year. What led to that, for the purpose of the audience, is the fact that you had this fantastic blueprint.
Absolutely.
And a roadmap. And we're like, okay, that's great. It sounds brilliant on paper. But how about we checking on you? How have you been, by the way?
Yeah, we're doing very well, progressing, have commenced implementation of the roadmap. Okay. And in our last conversation, you asked what to expect in 1 year. And I put the challenge back to say that, no, should it even be 1 year, it should be 6 months. I will come back in 6 months, and I have made a number of commitments.
Okay, so let's begin from there. Let's start straight up.
Yes.
So our producer is going to bring us. So this is the conversation we had with Mr. Ali, I think on February the 11th, this year, and we're telling him we need a 1 year roadmap or 1 year response to some of the things you have saying you will implement. He said, no. In 6 months I'll be back right here to tell you what I've done already. So let's take a listen to him and what he said that day.
it should be in the next 6 months. Engage me in 6 months.
Okay.
It should be on record.
Deal.
Engage me in 6 months. Let me return 6 months.
So tell us
now.
where we are and where we're
tell
going.
you. I will tell you that before the next 6 months, we would at least commission 60 mini-grids. 60 mini-grids in this. I will also in the next 6 months, I will tell you that I have started a process of deploying interconnected mini-grids, 40 interconnected mini-grids for us to create reliability. I will also come here and tell you that I have started a process of deploying mini-grids in additional 5 universities. And I would tell you also that in the next 6 months that I have completed at least minimum two of the 8 mini-grids that I'm deploying in the 8 universities and 1 teaching hospitals. I may do much more than the 2, but I'm telling you minimum of 2. And I will also tell you that I've started another 5 interconnected mini-grids. I will also tell you that in the next 6 months that I have started solarizing the public sectors. Right, we're looking at maybe some key government parastatal in Abuja and maybe outside the Abuja. I will tell you those that I have already started. And in 1 year, also be on record, I will complete the 8 universities and 1 teaching hospital. I will complete the interconnected mini-grids.
For those, for 8 universities, you mean?
For the 8 universities.
Okay, we're back to the day of accountability. So in case you missed out, let me read it out to you. You said in 6 months, 60 mini-grids will be commissioned, 40 interconnected mini-grids deployment will be in progress, 5 universities mini-grid deployment in progress, 2 mini-grids completed out of 1 of the 8 universities and 1 teaching hospital, public sector solarization, and in 1 year, talked about 8 universities and 1 teaching hospital. So let's start with your list.
Yes, so starting with the isolated mini-grid, the 60 mini-grids that I promised to deliver. Currently, we have delivered 91. 91 isolated mini-grids have been
you have exceeded the target?
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Right, so that's the first. The second one also concerning the 8 universities, I said minimum of 2. We have completed all the 8, but we are only conducting technical testing of 4. So 4 technically been completed. We are doing the technical testing of these 4 universities. That is the one in Yola, the one in Dusima and Kasina, the one in Lokoja in Kogi, and the one in Imo in Owerri State, Imo State in Owerri. So that has been completed. For the interconnected mini-grids, we are currently working on deploying 42 interconnected mini-grids. That process is also ongoing, and we have completed 6 already, 6 of the interconnected mini-grids that have been completed. 1 in Oshun, in Plateau, in Cross River, and in Niger Lambata. That also have been completed. As regards to the new set of universities under the National Public Sector Solarization Initiative, we have signed the collaborative agreement with the universities under the leadership of the Minister of Education, where we are looking at powering, like I mentioned, University of Lagos, University of Benin, University of Ibadan, Obafemi Awolowo, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Federal University of Dutse in Jigawa State, Federal University Wukari in Taraba, and Ahmadu Bello universities. And recently, if you check the approval that was granted by the FEC, the one before the last, you will see that Federal Executive Council had granted approval for the deployment of all these mini-grid in these universities. So this is to come back to tell you that there are genuine government officials under the leadership of Mr. President that are committed of doing their job, and they are doing their jobs, passing even the expectation. And that is why I'm here to give you that account.
Interesting. So for you, you have surpassed a lot of the promises you have made. But let's go granular on this one and basically understand how this works. All right, and the sustainability of it, then the impact of it, because we can put all of these numbers, I mean, all of the projects out there. And if there's anything we've seen a lot in Nigeria, there are projects. You see the commissioning, the ribbon cutting, and you visit these communities just days after, and it's almost like nothing happened. Either the project has been taken away, it's not working for them. So speak to us about, first, the structure of this. Is it solely government? How are they going to be paying for this? What are they going to be paying? Because we know that the public sector sometimes drags their feet to go into rural areas. But so this doesn't work for us. It doesn't pay us. We need to make money. And this is almost charity in that sense. So what is the structure of this?
A very good question. So the structure, if you also remember the last conversation I had with you, we build the structure around the private sector. Like I said, that the Minister of Power is a finance guy. So in all the structure, in all the infrastructure we are deploying, we deploy a commercially viable infrastructure. So what we are doing is moving away from the concept, the traditional concept of government issuing contracts. No. What we are doing is incentivizing the private sector using capital grants to incentivize them to go to these communities and deploy the infrastructure. The reason behind that is two key critical advantage. One is that the private sector will have a skin in the game, will have their own money deployed, plus our capital grant, which means that the private sector have the responsibility of ensuring that the infrastructure works over a period of time for them to get to pay off the debts that they collected and put into the project, and for them to even get some level of IRR over a period of time. Yeah. So that is why our projects works. And I do tell you that, you see, it's a myth to continuously think that government infrastructure are deployed and you go back and you find them not working. And I do challenge REA's project, more especially the ones that are under the private sector, and even those that are EPC driven are working. Recently, I and the Minister of Works, we were in Ebonyi. There's a project, if you go to the university, Alex Ikweme University in Ebonyi State, that has been there for 5 years. If you go there, the entire university is getting their own electrons from that mini grid that has been deployed. 5 years. The same thing go to University of Kogi. So the whole thing, that cliche of projects deployed not working, it's really not the true reflection of what it's applicable when it comes to the kind of project that we are deploying.
So this, part of me, is private sector driven.
Yes.
That way, at least you're sure that they're up to the task. They're following up with this.
Absolutely.
So, for the urban areas, for example, electricity is 200 naira per kilowatt hour plus. How much is it for those rural areas in that sense?
So for the rural areas also, like I mentioned, you see, the tariff is a function of the total cost of the infrastructure you deploy. So in some communities, if we go to these communities, we'll find out that maybe the state government had already put some poles, right? So we just deploy the generation plant and make use of the existing structures to power that. In that regard, you will see that the tariff is very low because it reduces the cost.
Up to 50?
Yes. In some areas also, there are projects that there is lack of infrastructure completely, which means that we have to deploy the generation plant, do the distribution network, put the metering, and deploy our SCADA. SCADA is always a compulsory. SCADA gives us an opportunity for us to monitor the performance of the mini grid. So in that regard, you see that the mini grid, the tariff is a bit high. Recently, I was in Gombe State, Balanga, a community that has been in existence, a wheat farming community has been, I said, since IBB period. In fact, I was told that IBB was at the community to incentivize wheat farming during his tenure. This is a community that has 11,000 hectares of wheat farming fertile soil. But there was no existence of any infrastructure to enable them to do that with farming till this administration. We went with UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and REA to deploy 620 kilowatts of a hybrid infrastructure, 320 micro hydro and 300 solar, to give them that kind of electricity. In that kind of community, the tariff is going to be very low because the UNIDO take cost of the hydro cost, and we will take care of the solar. So in that regard, there are a lot of nuances that determine the tariff, but what the government is doing is subsidizing the capital cost for the tariff to continue to be low. And for government projects that are not tied to private sector, recently the minister approved the creation of renewable asset management company, which would be like the NDIC of the power sector. So what this renewable asset management company would do is, one, we incentivize another ecosystem of operation and management under the power sector. So if the government build the asset, for example, the one we built in the university, or the one that we already built at the universities, this renewable asset management would go ask the private sector to who are specialized in operation and maintenance to now bid for the operation and management of that asset on their behalf. So that is it. So that means that we are creating new ecosystem of companies that specialize in renewable operations and management. The second thing that this renewable asset management will do is to now, in the event of any failure of either the private sector that is managing it, to take over the asset and refurbish it and lend it back again. So, and thirdly, more importantly, is all these assets. Government have assets, but we are not taking advantage of the asset. So this renewable asset management would take all this asset and put it on its balance sheet and use the balance sheet to raise more funding to continue to deploy this infrastructure.
That model, it reminds me, I think it just, watch the model you're explaining now, makes me remember, what's this agency under NMDPR, Nigeria Midstream Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund, which primarily what they do is, not like they start an initiative per se, but they fund to incentivize in terms of having equity investment so that the sector can grow and bring in more people as a player. But one question you've not answered is how much people, I know you tried to, so give us an average for the very rural areas. For urban areas, those of us who are on band A, we pay, is it over 200 naira per 50 kilowatts of whatever, what's
kilowatt hour.
A kilowatt hour. That's on the urban area. So what's the average they pay in the rural area? That's on one hand too. I would like you to also respond. What's the mix like, the energy mix? Is it solar or is it solar and any other mix? So just give us that response.
So there are communities, there are rural areas, that pay tariff much more than what you are even paying in band A. And they are paying.
What do you mean by that?
Collection. There are areas that the tariff is even close to 250, 280.
And they load with token?
Yes, well, absolutely. Token. They use their mobile phone to pay for the electricity and they enjoy it. But there are areas that the tariff is less than what you pay in band A. Like I told you, it's subjective on the total cost of infrastructure that we deploy within those communities. That is one. Two, to the second question, the mix. The most economically viable model now is the solar that we have seen. There are others that we are still discussing, wind, biomass. We tried biomass, but when we see the cost of logistic of moving the garbage from where they have been dumped to the processing zone and processing it, the tariff was way above the limit that we can allow. And that is why we are yet to incentivize that. But for the wind, we are discussing, we just last week signed an MOU with the Nigerian Wind Energy Council for us to start looking at small wind infrastructure that are economically viable, that the tariff will be within the allowables range. If we get that, we'll start deploying other means of generation.
Interesting. I want to also situate this conversation because there are a lot of people looking at you right now and thinking, oh, this is man responsible for us not having lights for the past 1 week.
Not exactly.
So let's situate where you play in the whole sector, because I find this very important from time to time. It's important to situate it. So where do you play in the sector, and who should come to you if they have problems? Who should go to the discos if they have problems? Let's situate where you operate.
Rural Electrification Agency operates off-grid. If you have a problem with disco, it's not our problem, right? Communities, Nigeria has the highest number of people without access. And this is the first time that I'm saying the president government, under the leadership of Mr. President, that Nigeria has a structured means of saying that, okay, let's deal with this nonsense of saying we have the highest number of people without access. I saw an Instagram post by economists where they talked about how many Nigerians without access, that we have the highest number. In the entire world, apart from India, there's no country that has designed a structured means of getting people out of electricity poverty like what we are implementing now. The distributed access through renewable energy scale up, 750, the biggest project ever in the world, public project in the world to provide electricity to 17.5 million Nigerians. That is the people that should come to me, right? But we also have been added with another responsibility to create reliability. For those that are on band E and D, not you, those are the people that get maybe less than 4 hours. We also work to help them create reliability. And that is the essence of the interconnected mini grid that I told you about.
So that interface between the, the main grid and
yes, exactly. Okay. So we go to, they already have the main grid.
Okay.
So we go to those peri-urban areas, deploy the generation plant and connect it with the mini grid. We sign a service level agreement with the disco. During the day, we use the solar to give them electricity, which means that we can assure them at least 10 hours of electricity, additional 10 hours. Then during the night, we use the battery for some hours, additional 4 hours. Then we now said that the disco should now come in after the first 4 hours, right? So that gives them additional, moving them from 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours, to at least minimum of 16 hours. And if the disco commit to the service level agreement, they can get up to 24 hours of service. That is what we do in that regard. Okay,
important to situate that. So yes, if you are band A, B, C, don't come to him.
Absolutely.
If you are in band
D and E,
this is your man.
Or if you don't have electricity at all,
this is your man.
In your village.
So let's be clear. Are you contesting the figure that says 90 million Nigerians do not have access to electricity? Are you saying that's not true?
No, I'm not contesting that. Okay. I'm saying that we are now addressing that number. For example, under the Nigeria Electrification Project, we provided electricity to 8 million. And I can give you the data
so where we subtract it from the 90 million?
Oh, absolutely.
So we are reducing 82 million.
Yeah. And I just told you that we have now just one program that is targeting 17.5, which I told you in the last program that we will complete that project in 3 years. So by 3 years, 17.5 will be out.
Sorted.
In the Japan, the visit of Mr. President, if you see what the Minister of Power mentioned in terms of what he's doing in Japan, he mentioned that part of the discussion is 190 million funding, co-financing by JICA to REA for the distributed access. That would also provide electricity to additional 1,830,000 Nigerians. So you should add that 1,830,000 to the 17.5. We are working also on the eHearts project that would target additional 16 million, but we have not yet gotten the financing for that. Before the end of this government, definitely that number would be drastically reduced.
So Mr. Aliyu, as we need to wind down, so let's do a few things. afterwards, you're going to give us all your data.
Yes.
So that we can publish it.
Yes.
So that all the places you claim
yes.
you've installed mini grids, the people can go and verify and
yes.
get back to us, because we can't be everywhere. But for the big ones,
without quoting you, that data had already been provided. We came ready with the data. So as I'm speaking, we have already provided to the production crew of this.
Yeah, we'll be showing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
just to
we're going to publish
from Nigeria.
Confirm, so that
with the names already of all the
so that Nigerians who live in the areas you've claimed will be able to get back to us. But more importantly, the 8 universities, I think you mentioned them. You mentioned about 4 already being tested.
So there are 8 that.
So I want you to go back to that for context, because that one is easy to trace.
Yes, exactly. So those 8 are: 1, University of Port Harcourt, almost 11 megawatts, plus the teaching hospital. There is Lokoja, Federal University of Nigeria in Lokoja. There's the Federal University in Nasarawa, Lafia. There is the one in Yola. There is the one in Dusima in Katsina State. That is 5. There is
the one in Wukari.
No.
Okay.
Dusima, Katsina.
Okay.
Wukari is Taraba. We have not started Taraba. So I've mentioned 5. There is. Did I mention Imo?
No.
There is Imo Federal University of Technology.
That's
in
Futo.
Imo. Futo. If you go there, you see whooping 7 megawatts, and we are doing technical testing. There is Federal University of Agriculture, I think, in Ondo. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not combining the two, there is either the one in Ondo or the one in Akure. That is the 7th one. There's one more.
But fair enough. 7 is.
I mean,
but there are 8 of them complete.
You can always send us the rest.
Yes.
So it's very interesting. Private sector driven, so they're playing a huge role in this. The solar panels, are they mostly?
Very important to also mention that importation of solar panels is being reversed. Before the coming of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the country only has 120 megawatt of PV panels assembly in the country by a company called Exano here in Lagos. But as at now, we have over 600 megawatts. There is a new one living in Ekotun that has started 150. There's 250 by JRV in Abuja. There's another 150 by JK Solar's Canada in Idu. And we also have signed new phase of development. REA has signed with Owando for 1 gigawatt PV panels.
So solar panels will be manufactured here.
Yes, manufactured. We also signed with Infraco for 1.2 gigawatt. So now, in terms of what is actually being assembled and manufactured and the ones in development, the country is looking at close to 3 gigawatts. So that is being reversed.
But what is our need? What do we need as a nation?
The need, if we were looking at current phase at which we are implementing, we are looking at around 10 gigawatt capacity. But if we are even to look at what it needs to address the entire thing, it's far more than that. And that is why now, in October 14th and 15th, we are doing the first Nigerian Renewable Energy Innovation Forum, where we are going to bring the existing people that are in manufacturing, those that want to invest, those that do not even have interest but they are in the manufacturing. We are bringing them all to Abuja for the first time to discuss what are the recommendations, what are the things they need for the government to change for us to catalyze this kind of investment. Should we copy from India or what Turkey have done, put anti-dumping policy or put some localization? This is what we intend to do. At the end of that forum on the 14th and 15th of October in Abuja, Transcorp Hilton, we want to sieve out what we are going to put to the government to implement for us to continue to incentivize this manufacturing of PV panels and batteries in the country.
There's another part I'd like you to speak to. I think you spoke to it in passing, but I like to be in terms of specific so that feedback can come and all of that, which has to do with high impact area industrialization or solarization, as you call it. Are there places, for instance, I'm talking about belts, I'm talking about food belts, agricultural belts. Are you targeting those areas? Because storage and silos are a bigger problem for us. We produce all these things and we can't store them. So is the REA also looking in that direction, besides tertiary institutions and villages, high-impact belts? And which are they?
Absolutely. Very good question. Yes. In fact, we designed a specific program called Energizing Agriculture Program, focusing in agricultural clusters or agricultural producing areas or agricultural processing areas. In fact, we just completed also another set of about 6 mini grids within those clusters. So it's going to be, it's either, for example, the one in Jos Plateau State, Kwampam, is an agricultural processing area where we deploy the mini grid to support those processing the rice that is being farmed within that areas. In the one in Bunkure in Kano is an agricultural production to give them an opportunity to do farming of rice 247, 12 months in the day, 3, 5, 6 a year.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Ali, I know if we allow you, you're going to keep going. He's a media man.
I will send you the bill for the event.
No, definitely, channels will be part of that.
Definitely. We're proud of what you're doing. A young person in government doing his bit. And as soon as we get all of the feedback, we're going to also communicate with you. And we're back again February, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we have a 6-monthly engagement with you to follow up. And I think this is what we should be doing with the agencies of government.
When you make promise, we follow up.
So thank you for keeping to your promise.
Thank you very much.
For coming through at least to give us heads up on what you've done and what you're about to do. About you, let
the public know that I brought myself, not that you call me back.
Yes, for the record, yes, I agree. So for the record, he said, you told me to come back in 6 months. I'm not ready for you. So it's not like
to knock our door.
Yeah, he came to speak. Said, I'm coming to you. I'm ready for you. So thank you. Good job. Abaliu, MD CEO, Rural Electrification Agency. Thank you for joining us on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will be switching gears to issues around customs. Last week, we talked to the chairman on customs, Leke Abejide, about the issue of license charges for agents and all of the bonded houses. Well, the agencies themselves, the agents themselves, the leadership will be responding to some of the things that were said on that day. Join us again.
Was called SEMA, Custom and Excise Management Act of 1958. So most of these charges is as old as that SEMA. So now that the act is in operation, everything has to change. So, and I believe those operators too, they understand. You see, this is not new thing. It is about the reality on ground. It is not maybe they're trying to discriminate. See, this is not a cheap business to venture into. If you want to go to a bonded terminal operation, you must be ready. Because even to buy the forklift alone, you will need close to 500 million naira. To do the terminal, you will need close to that 500 million naira. So, what is there for you to have a bond to operate your place of 500 million naira? If you can invest billions to put the infrastructure in place, you should know that all these goods are to pay duty. If you want to renew your license and then you are paying 10 million naira as an agent who is working, this 10 million naira is for a whole year. And I want to tell you that most of these agents can do job worth of 10 billion, 20 billion. So,
well, we have the national president of the Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs Agents, Emenike Nwokioji, joining us on the program to speak to some of the issues raised by the Honorable, and of course the proposal to increase the tariffs by January. You're welcome to the program, Mr. Wokeoji.
Yes, good morning, Kayode and Jeffrey, and good morning, Nigerians.
Oh, good morning. I wonder how you're taking all of this in, because we're looking at the figures, the proposal, we should say, by customs, set to take effect from next year. Clearing agents and agencies fresh license from 515,000 to 10 million. Clearing agents and agencies renewal from 215,000 to 4 million, and so on and so forth. The Honorable, that's the chairman of the House Committee on Customs, says, I mean, you guys are okay. You make billions. So how much is 4 million? How much is that money for you? Is that the sentiment you share as well?
Yes, thank you once again. It's unfortunate that such comment is coming from a member of Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs Agents. We are all surprised by that comment. And being a practicing member of licensed custom agents, because we know he owns a company. For him to make such a comment on a job that ordinarily in every other client is meant for the indigent and for the nationals of that place, I mean, is really unfortunate. So I'm not here to join issues with my member. That is not what our constitution states. I'm only here to maybe correct as much as possible within the time available the misconceptions or things he got right, knowing that he's more busy now in making laws than clearing goods.
So speak to us about the misconceptions. He has said that this is done to basically make sure that this sector meets international standards, to clean up the sector and ensure that only people who are able to afford the infrastructure are there, and that will ensure that we have a smooth process. So what are the misconceptions? What grounds do you have with this proposal in that sense?
Yeah, the proposal, I will not say much on it because I was part of the meeting with the Controller General of Customs in Abuja, and where the proposal was made and shared to us, we were asked to go back, meet with our members, and come back with our common position. Our members in the North have met, they have submitted their position to the National Secretariat. Members in the East have met, and we met the same day that this comment was coming on Thursday. We met at Rockview Hotel in Apapa. The hall was filled up to the brim, and agents, all of them had their views, which we set up a committee there and then to harmonize as we wait for the CGC, that's the Controller General of Customs, to invite us back again so that he will see, together we can look at our views and come up with a position. But for a member to say that agents handle jobs of 10 billion to 20 billion, how much is the license of an importer who owns the cargo? Are we just operating without reference to what is happening in other places? WCO, for which, by God's grace, the Controller General presently is the chairman of the board, there are stipulated means and ways of licensing, practicing custom brokers all over the world. So I know that I consider whatever he has said as his view. Though that day I was expecting him to say that his view was an act of parliament, or his personal view, or the view of his committee. But he didn't say much about that. He's entitled to his opinion, but I think he got so many things wrong.
So let's talk about the concerns you're raising. In specific, like my colleague has put it to you, as he did on that day, stating clearly that this amount is infinitesimal or not significant given the volume that comes through agents. So if you were to, so I want to go back to, I quite quickly get back to the numbers and what you have as perhaps a grouse with that proposal, because The Guardian rather, did a great job in playing with the numbers. So let's begin with the ones that has to do with the bonded warehouses. So they say bank bond for bonded warehouses, excuse me, from 50 million to 500 million. Bonded warehouses renewal from 60,000 to 10 million. Bonded warehouses fresh license from 60,000 to 20 million. Let's start with the bonded warehouses, because his argument was to the effect that there was an idea because of congestion and all of that where bonded houses and these terminals were done, but it's not as effective as it is. So this is like, if you're not ready to go big, go home scenario. So if you were to give a counter proposal for balance, for fairness, for sustainability of the subsector, what will it be based on this number I've reeled out?
While I am here to represent the licensed custom agents and, of course, majority of the bonded terminal owners, our members, I think I would prefer to reorder this year by starting with license, because charity begins at home.
Okay.
With licensed custom agents.
Okay, for the benefit of our audience, my apologies. So let me go back. So clearing agencies renewal, 215,000 to 4 million. Clearing agents and agencies fresh license from 515,000 naira to 10 million naira. I think that's what you would prefer to speak to. So I just need the audience to be familiar with the data.
Thank you. As I speak now, I will beg that you still grant us, because a lot needs to be talked about. The proposed increase in the first place for obtaining new license is 2,000%. You can work it out. From 515 to 10 million is 2,000%. I mean, it's laughable. And then when you talk about renewal, 215, moving it to 4 million, that is another 1,000, about 1,850%. And then you talk about bond is over 5,700%. When we talk about bond in the current banking procedure, for bank to give you a bond, you must domicile, you must have such an amount in your account. The only favor they can do for you is maybe you put it in an interest yielding account. So it means that everybody must deposit this amount of money. Then how much is our working capital? And what is the job of an agent in the first place? We only represent a principal. The importer gives you a cargo and pays you a minimal practicing fee. The importer establishes from M. The importer processes his part. The importer initiated the importation without you. He only pays duty and give you document. Go and process it with custom and bring back my cargo. Why are we being now looked up at somebody saying that we are doing 10 billion? How much is the license of people lifting crude oil? And how much is a vessel of crude oil? We are only agents representing a principle. We don't own the cargo. In most cases, we can't see, an agent cannot see the cargo until the custom people are there to break the seal of the container. So where is this money coming? The fact that a bullion van delivered $2 billion from Aba to Port Harcourt, does it mean you are going to pay a percentage to the driver? The driver is entitled to his salary. So that proposal, I doubt. And I will advise some of these proposals, they should carry us along. We play a major role in the economy, just like every other custom representative or custom broker all over the world, in the economy of the country. I would share this with you. At a point when federal government felt that the customs were undercutting federal government in terms of duty, they came up with this idea that no matter the amount you collect every year, we'll give you 7% of it. So let's see, if you are under charging import duty, you know that you are losing revenue. Why can't they try that with the clearing agent? Make sure that every declarant gets a percentage of duty he pays. In that case, we know that we are really custom representative. If the importer asks you to do something that will make the government to lose revenue, you will quietly tell him that it's not possible because you know your interest is protected somewhere. But we are just hanging. The importer calls us thief because some people see us as an enemy. Federal government now, through some agencies or through some persons, are looking at us as people that are handling massive business. Then we should pay billions. So can they compare, like in the meeting, we made reference to doctors whose lives of human beings are in their hands. We made reference to engineers, that their construction can cost life, bridge can collapse or building collapse. We made reference to, and then all these things, how much do they use in renewing their licenses?
Well, let me just come in quickly, Sawokoji. So they have a proposal. What is your counter proposal? Are you saying they should remain where they are? And I'm talking for clearing agents and agencies renewal should remain 215,000, and the fresh license should remain at 515,000 instead of 10 million. Are you saying they should remain, or there can be an increase, but it shouldn't be more than maybe 300%, 200%, or what? What is your proposal, your counter proposal now?
Yes, with due respect, I will not share our proposal with you. We held a meeting with the Custom Controller General. We only owe it as a duty to return back to him with the views of our members. It's not something that we put on television first. Let's discuss with him. As a gentleman he is, I believe by now he must have reviewed the whole thing, because right there in the meeting when the proposal was made, he made us to understand that he was seeing it for the first time. And he asked us to go and look at it and come up with our position. When that is done, if we are unable to reach a common ground, we will come back.
There you go. You have 30 seconds, please. We're totally out of time, but I want you to speak to the effect of this on prices, on the economy at large. If you can do that in 30 seconds, so we have a clearer picture. I will do that very quickly. The Honorable made a very wrong assertion that even the 4% will not affect prices. That is not correct. Right now, routine drugs all over the country is so high. People are dying because they can't even afford their medicaments. What the 4% means is that every cargo coming into this country, be it donation, whatever it is, so long as there is a value put to it, must pay 4%. Before now, the economy, of course, let me just go, we operate a 5-band tariff regime. 0 duty for essentials, 5% for raw materials, 10% for semi-finished products, 20% for finished products, and 35% for luxury goods. What it means now is all the essentials are duty-free, and they will pay this 4%, so it's no more free. Medicaments, some of them are duty-free. It means they must pay this 4% because it's worked out from the FOP. So if you permit me, this is not an issue of 15 minutes discussion. We need to tell Nigerians that a whole lot needs to be done in this sector. Everything should not be about revenue. We should think about the common man on the street. Yes, maybe people like us or some Nigerians, pardon me, they can afford to pay this. How can the Honorable now suggest that people, one man will have a license, other people will come to him, get a job and come to him? People can't even, I know the number of people assist every year as the national president to renew their license. And then he made a statement, why get a license when you don't have a job? Do you need to go and get a job before you go to school? It's with your certificate that you will apply to be employed. People who have licenses, say
then they use it to apply for jobs. That they are not able to do something today. What about tomorrow? Will you hand your job to a man that is not licensed? He will have the license, he qualifies to now go in search of job.
Well,
so because there is unemployment everywhere, people should not go to school until when they get employment, they will now go for admission.
All right, Mr. Wokioji, I just wanted you to, lay those issues bare. In fact, we overshot our time, but because of the importance of this conversation, so you've spoken to the impact this may have, and we're glad that the conversation is still ongoing. And this is something, of course, we'll be following up on to see how it plays, because we all know how important the ports is to our economy. Anything happens there, it affects prices. And people are still talking about how much it is to clear vehicles and goods and the rest. And we know what impact that is having. But we have to thank you so much, and of course, hope that this will end well for the economy, for you and Nigerians. We've been speaking with the National President of the Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs Agents, Mr. Emenike Nwokioji. Thank you for your time, and wish you the very best.
Thank you, Kayode. While I wait for another chance so that we can even go into the bonded terminals as well.
Yeah. Certainly. In fact, we were told that we may just be mixing issues up with the agents and the bonded terminal operators with some of the submissions you made. So this is a conversation we'll have.
We definitely may have to do a proper panel.
Yeah.
So that everybody on the table, everybody who is supposed to be on the table when they sort themselves out, will be on that table. We have the lawmakers, everybody who is supposed to be there. Because at the end of the day, it's about moving Nigeria forward.
Indeed.
At the end of the day. Coyote.
There you have it. So get ready for a sequel to this one, because that sector is a very important one, and there are different players that come together to make it work. But we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we head over to Benue State. There's a lot playing out in the state now that the speaker has resigned. Don't forget that the governor said, I don't have a hand in any of this impeachment after those lawmakers were suspended. But guess what? The speaker has now resigned. So what exactly is playing out in Benue State? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. We want to talk about what's playing out in the Benue State House of Assembly. Last weekend, we saw that 4 members of the House were suspended for what the House considered an attempt to impeach the Speaker of the Benue State House of Assembly, Mr. Dajo. Well, by today or yesterday, that Speaker has resigned. And guess what? One of the persons, if I get my records correctly, one of the persons that was suspended is now the new Speaker. So what exactly is going on in the Benue State House of Assembly? What's behind the scene? What are the moving levers? We've been joined in the program by the spokesperson of the Benue State House of Assembly, Mr. Elias Audu. Mr. Audu, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, my brother.
Mr. Audu, what exactly is going on? On one moment, we're hearing some people wanted to impeach the Speaker. The next moment we heard they've been suspended. The next moment we heard the Speaker has resigned. The next moment, before we could recover, we're not hearing that one of the suspended member is now the Speaker. Walk us through what is playing out here.
Thank you very much. Good morning. As you can see, since the inauguration of the House in 2023, the House has been at peace. And as you have been following development in the Benue State House of Assembly, we have been at peace. But however, in politics, sometimes there are different interests. There are certain things that will play out. If you can remember, a couple of days ago, the House passed a vote of confidence on the immediate past Speaker, Chief Right Honorable Ondenat Daji. And the House was doing that with their all level of sincerity. A couple of days back, if you can, when they interviewed me last time, I told the people that what many people were looking at an attempt to impeach the Speaker was a meeting. Some members conveyed a meeting, and the House felt that the meeting would have gone through the knowledge of the leadership of the House. we could not authoritatively say that they will go and planning impeachment. The immediate past speaker, Right Honorable Ondina Daju, voluntarily resigned. He resigned for that. He was coming, he came, he saw, he conquered. He did his best for the peace and development of the state. And as the assertion goes, the best dancer leave the stage. So he came, he did his best. And when he said this is the time to quit, we say, okay, one of our colleagues should step in. And that was why yesterday we unanimously, the House unanimously voted Right Honorable Beja Alfred Mbega in a peaceful atmosphere. If you had watched the proceeding yesterday, it was devoid of crisis. Just one person was nominated,
just
and then
a moment,
it was
Mr. Aldo.
those by all the members.
If I may,
that is.
Yeah, just a moment. My apologies. Do you want us to believe, that he just voluntarily resigned and nothing really happened? He came, he saw, he conquered. Is that something you're not telling us? Because we are privy to what's playing out here.
Just listen to me. Some other time there will be insinuation. You live in, you are holding a particular office. Sometimes there are certain issues there. Maybe it may be personal. It may be based on style of leadership. It may be because of one reason or the other. So if somebody, because of his personal conviction, says it is time to quit, I hope we should not be making a move on saying things that really doesn't exist. Truly, the House is stronger and united to move Benue State forward as ever.
So speak to us about the kind of support that he has in the Assembly. That's the new speaker now. Does he have majority support in the Assembly as we speak? Can you say for sure that all the members or majority of the members support him?
If you have been following the activities of the Benue State House Assembly, you can agree with me that the House is a very, very vibrant House. We will stand up, we say it as it is. Now, if we're not comfortable with it, you would have seen a rowdy session yesterday. In that election, if they are conducting an election, you will know whether something is wrong or not. Maybe it will be a close one. 3 people would have been nominated, or 2 people would have been nominated. Out of 32 members, maybe the other one would have gotten 15, the other one 17, like that. Now, it was a unanimous decision. That is to tell you that the whole House was ready to keep behind him for peace and development. Nobody enjoys crisis. If there are crises in the House of Assembly, nobody suffered, nobody is at peace. Nobody is thinking about the bills they will sponsor. Nobody is thinking about the motions that will move the state forward. What everybody, every camp and every subdivision is doing is that they want to do what? They want to outsmart the other faction. That is what we want to avoid in the Assembly now. If you look at the Assembly now, even if the supposed camps that exist in the figment of imagination of other people, all of them came together. They nominated the speaker, and unanimously it was endorsed. One thing is certain about the Benue State House of Assembly: you don't control those members. The members are independent-minded persons. The members are people that speak the truth. Some other time when we're on proceeding, you see, if the governor says something that we don't like it, we don't just reject it. We say this is not in the interest of the state. We speak against it. Right. So for you to insinuate that there is something behind the scene and we're not telling you people, it's not correct. Let me remind you, Right Honorable Ondina Daju came in as speaker. He enjoyed the support of the people. He did his best. And at the time, he said it is time to quit. Let me repeat, the best dancer still leaves the stage.
Well, Honorable, this is politics, particularly when it comes to lawmaking, events in the Assembly. There's always something behind the scenes. Before you come to the House, you've had meetings, you've had deliberations. That is a fact. We all know that. So
that is it.
there
we
is
call it executive session.
Exactly.
We sit behind closed doors,
exactly.
And then we'll do our...
So there's always something behind the scenes before what we see at the floor or the floor of the Assembly. But help us understand the logic behind this. So just matter of a few days ago, the Speaker suspended 4 lawmakers, the clerk and 4 lawmakers, right? And nobody raised eyebrows. In fact, the lawmakers that were suspended said they are fine with the suspension because there were allegations that they were trying to impeach the lawmakers. So are you trying to say that all of a sudden the same members of the State Assembly that were fine with the suspension of those lawmakers, including the Speaker now, the new Speaker, are also have made a 360 U-turn and are now fine with the emergence of a suspended lawmaker as the Speaker? How does that work, really?
My brother, when you want to move forward, certain sacrifices are made. When you want to move forward, there is definitely a realignment. When you want to move forward, some people will definitely have to bury their interests for the common interest of many people. Before we go to sleep, before we go to the sitting, we usually hold what we call an executive session, where we deliberate on issues, where we deliberate on the business of the day. And when I was saying this, I told you that certainly this is politics. Politics must have its own intrigues. It must have the way it plays out. But one thing is certain, that you should not forget. There are personal principles too. Now you work with Channels Television. Maybe the channel will be doing everything to you, but because of certain reason, maybe because of family reason, because of certain reason, you say you are going to quit. If you look at what played out on the day of suspension, when this suspension was issued out to these people, they honorably go before the authority and the Speaker and the left. There was no rowdy session. Myself speaking to you at a certain point, I was suspended on that Chief Judge saga. You understand? But at the end of it all, we're able to unite and move forward. And mind you, let me tell you, there is no household without its internal crisis.
All right.
In the family,
Mr. Aldo, my apologies. We understand there is no household without crisis. But so let's bring what is happening or what we hear happening so that you can respond to it. We understand that this Speaker has stood up to the governor on certain issues in terms of legislation, in terms of, I think, confirmation of commissioners or so. And it's been able to say, look, if this is not done, this will not be done. And so to that effect, the governor wanted his ouster, which was the beginning of this roller coaster till his eventual removal or voluntary suspension, if you will, from the State House of Assembly. What do you make of that?
Thank you very much. As you mentioned, in the process of the confirmation of commissioners, we have reasons, we had cause to step down to commissioner nominees based not just on law, but on morality. It was a collective will of all the members. It was not a rowdy session. Some people condemning it and some people saying that those people must be done. But if there is an, as you say, if the governor have interest or whatever, it's not within the knowledge of the assembly. We don't know. But what I'm aware, and I can tell you confidently, is that the Speaker was doing his job, and after some time, maybe because of certain decision, he didn't tell us. He said he came, he thanked the people for their support, the members for their support, but now it is time to go. If the governor is interested, if the governor have anything to do with what the House, or what the activities of the House, that is not in my knowledge. But as far as we are concerned, we maintain the principle of separation of powers. The other time the governor sent nominees too, we turned down one of the nominees. There are certain things that policies of the government that we have challenged. For instance, there was this other time we moved a motion that the governor, you have frozen the account, is good to checkmate fraud. But this freezing of the account is too long. So most of the things that the governor, the policies the governor want to do, if we think it's not in the interest of the state, we will tell him. If it's based on that, maybe the Speaker would have resigned since. I am convicted that the Speaker resigned based on personal principles. We are in a political dispensation. We are playing politics. But if there are political undertones to here, it is not in the public garage. There is no fighting in the Benue State House of Assembly now, because the young people who have in the assembly are independent-minded people that you cannot coerce them. There is a lot of time that the governor brings in certain things to the house. We challenge him. Look at what happened during the removal of the chief judge. Some members say we will not vote. They didn't vote, and they made the public know they didn't vote. Well, if it was that time, maybe the speaker would have been removed that time because the removal of the chief judge brought crisis. It didn't happen. So what happened now, I thought that the speaker came, he did his best, and no, he was not forced to resign. He resigned willingly to contribute as a member. He always told us that he was elected to represent the good people of Bemacha in Benue State House Assembly. He was not voted as a speaker, but his colleagues gave him the opportunity to be the first among equals. He liked it. He will always be grateful to us for giving him that opportunity.
All right.
And he will always tell us that the lifestyle of the speaker is not determined. Any day the circumstances warrant you to leave, you can leave.
Well,
and
Honorable,
that was why he said, for peace, progress, and development of Benue State, he was going to resign as the speaker. If you follow his Facebook handler, he simply wrote, after posting his letter there, that let there be peace.
All right, Honorable, so let's speak to... Right, I understand that. So let's quickly speak to some issues. This is the first time in a long time I'm seeing resignation written by hand. So it speaks to, this was rushed, perhaps last minute, may have been coerced. It doesn't speak to, pardon me, let me land on the thought, then you can speak to the question when I ask. So it speaks to being rushed. Most times when a thought is, when a process follows, that whole, the thinking, the consultation and all of that, there's a letter prepared and you can see the letter and then it is read properly, not handwritten in such, horrid manner in that sense. But the most important part of this is you spoke to issues that had been building up. Again, that's evidence that this has been building up until this moment. But the latest one, which is a rejection of the commissioner nominees, the professor, based on issues around certificates and petitions written. The big question is this, Honorable. Does the Benue Assembly have a mind of its own? Because the fear is that the nominee will be represented and the current assembly under the new leadership would approve the nominees in spite of the petitions written against the nominee in this case. So does this state assembly have a mind of its own? Because a lot of people believe strongly that it's being controlled by the governor, as we see from time to time. I mean, Kogi is a typical example we're still speaking to.
My brother, thank you for what you have just said. People are free to speculate. In democracy, people will always speculate. But I want to assure you that of the 36 state assemblies we have in Nigeria, Benue is one among the vibrant houses of assembly. There are a lot of issues the governor will want to do, who will say no. If you look at the way we scrutinize our own budget, we don't do our budget in a way of copy and paste. When governor present budgets to us, we look at realities on ground. This. Let me show you a recent example. The governor respects the legislative arm of government. Recently, we made resolutions in the House. Are you aware that we made resolution that certain members from the executive be suspended? The House stood its ground that unless those people are suspended, and the governor issued a directive to that effect, that all the people affected in that suspension should go, and he suspended them. Why didn't the governor call us and direct us that these people are my people, I don't want them to be suspended? The House stood its ground and we acted in unison. It was a collective decision. So for anybody to insinuate that the governor is controlling the assembly is no. The governor respects the principle of separation of powers. And we in the assembly were there. Let me tell you, we represent the people. If we do anything, we didn't just step down the screening of that commissioner. There was genuine concerns from all quarters. And we're in the process of verifying them. We verify. There was other time we stepped down a nominee like this. He later came to us in an apology. The young man didn't steal. He was not convicted. But he did something that morally, he was disqualified on moral ground. He came with apology that, sorry, what I made was truly an unguarded statement. As a house, forgive me. Not just for today, for this appointment, but for the sake of tomorrow, so that tomorrow people should not condemn me. He came to seek genuine forgiveness, and will say that to A is human.
All right, Ms. Aldo, we're totally out of time. But it's interesting. This is politics, so we'll just smile through and watch what's going on, because it's interesting to see that just on Friday, 4 people were suspended by this same speaker who I'm sure wanted his job and took his action for whatever reason, for them trying to oust him. And 48 hours or 24 hours later, he voluntarily resigned in a handwritten letter, and you say there are no strings attached. But we'll take you for your word. We'll continue to watch this space. You know, politics, revelations happen every other day. But it's interesting what's playing out in the Benue State House of Assembly. That's why we're asking whether you're really an independent House of Assembly. But you've given your answers.
We have demonstrated that on a number of occasions, that we are representing the people, and we are there to ensure the principle of separation of powers.
All right, Elias Aldo, the spokesperson of the Benue State House of Assembly, wants to thank you for your time. Wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
So let's bring you up to speed with what we've been tracking as far as our president's movement is concerned. We did tell you that, not like what happened in St. Lucia. But this is him landing in Brazil, the president, Bola Tinubu. Remember, he had gone to Japan. They had the TCAD event at Yokohama. And then from there, he was to head for a state visit in Brazil. He's now landed in Brazil. I think he's supposed to be here for like 2 days or so. So we'll be following up on the happenings, the bilateral meetings, the meetings with community, everything that has to do with the talks that was listed by his handlers as far as this trip is concerned.
So yes, President Tinubu there is being received by officials of the government of Brazil, as well as others. A couple of them, I'll just mention those who received the president. We have the ambassador, Secretary for Africa and Middle East, Ambassador Carlos Garquete, and the ambassador of Brazil to Nigeria, amongst others, who received the president. Recall that he was in Brazil, as we mentioned, for the BRICS summit just in July. That was in Rio, but now the president is in Brasilia, where we expect that a couple of bilateral deals will be signed, and he'll meet, of course, with the president of the Brazilian Senate, the Congress, the president of the Chamber of Deputies, etc., etc. So the big one for Nigeria is to see the signing of the MOUs and what that would mean for the nation's economy. So he will also, of course, be meeting with the president of Brazil. That's a given, right? But that's Nigeria's president there.
All right, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time. And, of course, your usual company, PDP NEC meeting holding today. We'll bring you the outcome tomorrow on the program, God willing. I'm Jeffrey Uzong. Bye-bye.
Don't forget that Sunrise Daily is next. Mark, of course, ready in Abuja and in Lagos. So stay with us. This is Channels Television. I'm Kyle Okike.